Hello and welcome to another hardcore Nuzlocke. Today I want to attempt a run of Pokemon Emerald using only the Ghost type. I've used the Ghost type before in a Fire Red run that essentially became a solo run with the OG Ghastly. Do you think OG stands for Original Ghost? It doesn't, but nonetheless in Pokemon Emerald there are only 4 Ghost type encounters that we can get. A Sableye in Granite Cave, which isn't available until after the first gym. Technically, we can catch a Nincada before the first gym, but we can't evolve it into its ghost type Shedinja until after the second gym because of the level cap rules in place. After that, we don't get access to the other ghosts, Duskull and Shuppet, until after we beat the 6th gym. That's going to make this run relatively difficult. Watson is a decent gym leader, and Flannery is also very beastly with her Torkoal. And if we only had a Sableye and a Shedinja, of course Shedinja is useless in that battle. So what is a Zap to do? Well, we're going to do the same thing we did with the Steel run. We're going to do the same thing that we did with the Ice run. We're going to egg up all these Pokemon, put them in a box, hit a random number generator, and get one after every gym until we have a full team. The only reason I'm doing this, we know that Gengar is a beastly Pokemon. I don't know the Generation 3 Pokemon that well, and this is the only way I'm really going to ever get to use Misdreavus because she was put into the game and then otherwise forgotten, in my opinion. So I think this is a fun way to do things. One person did comment a while back saying this is the way I should do all my runs, but I don't want to always just do the egg thing. But I think it is the best way to utilize the 6 available ghosts between Generations 1 and Generations 3. Nobody in the room, we might as well go check out what's on the computer, and I should have not even done that. Incognito mode is applaudable, but the fact you left the tabs open, I didn't know you were into that. Algo, I'm really going to look at you in a very different light. This is quite interesting. Gross, but interesting. Now, of course, we know that none of these encounters are ghost type, and typically what I do with the encounters is put them in numerical order via their dex entry, then hit a random number generator, and that's how I decide the order of things. I could have changed one of these starters to the first Pokemon that we are going to get, but I figured using them hatched from an egg would be best. We can use egg moves, one each, but it gives us an opportunity to use moves that we otherwise don't get. The other side of the coin is fighting these normal types first thing. Most of the encounters we have available to us don't have moves that can hurt them, and they don't have moves that can hurt us, so this would have been a very long and drawn out battle that you can't lose anyway. Grabbing an egg from the box and hatching it reveals our official starter, Duskull. Now, out of all these ghost type encounters that we have, Misdreavus, Duskull, and Shuppet I have never used, so I'm excited to see if they're any good. Do they get good? Do they suck? I don't know. We're just going to have to figure it out. Now, we do nickname our starter Danny, and of course there is a name theme with this run as there always is, so you guys try to guess it below. Danny has a bashful neutral nature here. That is fine. I will take it. No plus, no minus. As far as the movesets go, he does have the egg move Feint Attack, which means we can hit normal type Pokemon. Awesome. Pokemon Emerald had a couple of firsts. They gave us 2 rivals, but they didn't allow us to nickname either one of them. So in my head, I have nicknamed both of these rivals Algorithm, because why? Well, I'm glad you asked. That is what we're trying to beat both in-game and in real life, the Algorithm. The Algorithm in-game is going to be very easy to beat, actually. The real-life Algorithm via YouTube is much more difficult, and you guys can help me beat it by liking the video, commenting, hitting the notification bell, or subscribing to the channel. Any and all interactions with the channel do help out a ton. It costs you guys nothing, and it is greatly appreciated. Thank you guys so much for the continued support. It's been great. But defeating this Algorithm has been difficult, just like raising Ghost-type Pokemon. In Generation 3, the physical special split wasn't a thing, and Ghost-type is actually physical, despite some of these Ghosts being very heavy special attackers. So we're going to have to work with level up movesets and TMs and really plan out what we're going to do with different Pokemon. If you guys want a quick little off the cuff of how to distinguish between special and physical in generations 1 through 3, think of the evolutions. If there's an evolution for it, it is special. Fire, water, electric, psychic, dark, grass, and ice. The only type that doesn't follow that is dragon. It is also special, but of course it doesn't have an evolution. Everything else is physical. Now, one last thing I want to talk about here is I do, of course, have a new layout. You guys have been seeing it for a couple of clips. I want to know what your thoughts are. This is what I want to do for Generations 3 here as we're playing. Just give a little bit cleaner of a layout, use up the space a little bit better. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. Early game travel is very easy for a ghost type. Most low-level Pokemon have normal type moves like Tackle and Scratch, which don't affect us, and we have Feint Attack, so it's not difficult. Looking ahead though, Roxanne has Rock Tomb and Rock Throw that does affect us, so her battle is actually going to be a challenge. I should grab some HP EVs off of Wurmpools or defense EVs off of Cascoon and Silcoons to survive a few more of those Rock Tombs or Rock Throws. But looking even further ahead into the game, I'm going to split up my effort values into attack and special attack for Duskull. Not until the very end of the game do we even need the special attack, but I'm going to do it nonetheless. We need to plan for the future, because we're planning like we're going to make it. Now anyway, this is the part of the game where I like to bring you guys in and chat for just a second, and one of the things I want to chat about is the comments. You guys have been leaving great comments, and I appreciate every single one of them. There was a comment a couple episodes back when we were talking about Sylph and his Dark-type run of Heart Gold, and I cast a little bit of shade, and that wasn't the intent, but nonetheless, I did get called out, and somebody said maybe polish up your script before you cast shade on Sylph. Of course, I'm paraphrasing. That's not exactly what they said. I'm not mad at the comment. It had me laughing. Mostly because I wasn't casting shade on Sylph. Number one, his videos are great, but number two, I don't have a script. I'm an hour and a half into this voiceover, and we're not that far into the video. That's just how much I struggle because I don't write a script. This is all off the cuff. I've got a few notes. And maybe I should write a script and this would be just a tad more polished. It's me. This is what I do. I'm better off the cuff. Now, an episode ago, speaking of comments, I talked about compassion and kindness and leading with kindness, and you never know what people are going through. And I want to follow that up just for a second with, that's not easy to do every day. It's a conscious decision to do that and be kind, because it is so much easier to be an asshole. People can be very difficult to deal with. I battle with it every day, especially when I drive. I drive for work a lot. I drive back and forth from work, and people getting on and off the interstate, which is what I mainly traverse, is just insane to me. Like, I don't do anything crazy. I'm not cutting people off and brake checking, flipping you off or none of that stuff, but I mean, I am sitting there going, you know you're getting on an interstate, right? Like, the speed limit's 65, friend. You're doing 40. You're gonna get hurt. Nonetheless, I think it's weird. People, when they drive to work, are just hauling. And then driving home at the end of the day, it's the opposite, where they're going really slow. And me, I do things the other way, where I'll cruise into work. I'm never late, but I'm taking my time. And as soon as I get off of work, man, I'm heading home like I'm late from my couch. And that's because it doesn't matter what's going on at the house. That's my sanctuary, and I love being there. But I think if people took a little bit of time, like I said before, and maybe pull their head out of their phone and be a little more aware of their surroundings, it would be better. Again, I never chalk things that people do up to malice. I always chalk it up to incompetence or just ignorance. You know, ignorance is bliss, right? People live in their lives just like I'm living my lives. But as I said before, let's try to be just a little bit nicer tomorrow. The plan for Roxanne is relatively simple. We're going to go with the set base damage move Nightshade. It does damage based on our level, which is level 15. That's not enough to two-shot any of her Pokemon. I did edge Danny closer to level 16, so we'll level up after the first Geodude, which is allowable in Nuzlocke rules, but we're still not going to two-shot her Pokemon. Turn 1 I go for Nightshade, and you will see that it doesn't do half, and Geodude goes for the speed-lowering move Rock Tomb. The AI wants to get the speed advantage. Danny's not a very fast Pokemon, because Geodude does outspeed us the next turn to go for Rock Throw. Both of those moves are inaccurate, and I hope they start missing. I go for Feint Attack to try not to take Geodude into healing range, but it does a decent amount of damage. Our Oranberry activates, and Roxanne goes for a potion. Our Nightshade takes Geodude down to yellow health, and Geodude decides to go for Defense Curl so we can take it out with a Feint Attack, sitting at 27 HP as the next Geodude comes out. We did level up, and we can do a tick more of damage, but that little bit of additional speed is imperative. Geodude goes for Defense Curl turn 1, and I hit it with a Nightshade that looks to do half, and then we actually outspeed the next turn to hit it with another Nightshade, because we are in a speed tie. We get hit with a critical hit Rock Throw down to 14 HP, Roxanne uses a potion, and we take Geodude right back down to red health with a Nightshade. We get the outspeed the next turn to KO it with a Feint Attack. The Nosepass is going to be a formidable foe, and we could very easily wipe here. I'm fully prepared for that. Nosepass uses Block turn 1. We can't escape even though we only have one Pokemon. And Nightshade does a decent amount of damage, but not a two-shot. Nosepass goes for Harden turn 2, throwing the battle, in my opinion. Nightshade does take Nosepass down to berry range, so it heals up with its Oranberry. But it just goes for Harden again. Doesn't make any sense to me, and one more Nightshade is enough to take out the Nosepass, so we win our first gym badge. Not only do we get a badge as a reward for beating the first gym, but we also can hatch ourselves an egg. The egg hatches into a Sableye. This is a very good Pokemon. I've used it before. Now we're going to go ahead and give it a nickname, and we are going to nickname Sableye Tommy. Can you guys guess the nickname theme yet? I have faith in you. Let's take a look at Tommy here, the Sableye. And it has a naughty plus attack minus special defense nature. Has the keen eye ability so it can't lose accuracy. That's awesome. Has a decent set of stats, and it has the egg move recover. That is phenomenal. As a matter of fact, I've bred this Pokemon before to get that egg move in a casual playthrough of Pokemon Emerald. One of the first times I ever did egg move stuff. Now leaving Rustboro, we have another battle with our rival Algo here, and her team is decent. Her Torkoal is pretty bulky, but no match for our ghost types. Again, a lot of these Pokemon, even at this level, don't have moves that can do much to us. It's going to go for Curse, but it doesn't have an attacking move that can do much with that Curse boost. So we're going to hit it with another Nightshade, taking it low in red health. It goes for another Curse, and then we can easily take it out with another Nightshade. She only has her Mudkip, which hasn't evolved yet. It hits us with a Water Gun that does very, very pitiful damage, and Nightshade doesn't quite do half, so it's going to be another 3-turn attack. Growl doesn't mean anything to us. Feint Attack does a decent amount of damage. Water Gun takes us down to 30 HP, and we can take it out with another Feint Attack. Heading to the second gym in Dewford, we can take on the Fighting-type gym leader Brawly. Now, his Fighting types cannot hurt my Ghost types, but I forgot that you can also do damage to the Fighting types with Ghost moves. This battle was almost 11 minutes long. It's a battle of attrition, but there's no way we can lose. Bulk Up is the problem. We're using physical moves, and they are raising their defense. Now, before we talk any more about the battle, if you look in the upper right-hand corner, you will notice that I did change the Pokemon names to where it says the nicknames now. Thought that was a nice little change. Despite all the bulk ups and stuff, though, we do take out the Machop relatively decent. We're only getting 3-turn attacks, but I'll take it. Meditite comes out next, and we're able to do some decent damage with Fury Swipes. Again, only a 3-turn attack because I'm not the AI player. Meditite just sets up a light screen, and then, of course, we miss our next Fury Swipe. It goes for Bulk Up, and I miss Fury Swipes again. it sets up another bulk up to +2 defense, and this time we do connect and we get a critical hit, so we take out the Metatite. That is a minute 37 as it falls, and I still have almost 9 minutes of footage left. We go for Fury Swipes turn 1. Again, only get a 3-turn attack, and it does a decent amount of damage, doing about half, and Makuhita goes for bulk up. I go for Fury Swipes again, and this time, for the first time, we get a 5-turn attack. That's good, but Makuhita goes for bulk up again. That's +2 defense. Citrus Berry pulls this thing well out of healing range, and we miss our next Fury Swipe. It goes for bulk up to +3 attack, and we miss another Fury Swipe. Bulk up brings this thing to +4, and now Fury Swipes isn't doing any damage. This is where I wish I would have known Ghost is fine against fighting type, because I would have brought Danny out and KO'd this thing. +5 with Feint Attack. I didn't realize until much later in the game that we could attack fighting types with Ghost type. Fury Swipes isn't doing anything at this point, but it's going to do more than any of our other moves. Still just a 3-turn attack, and Makuhita goes for bulk up, getting this thing to +6. Unfortunately, Brawly uses his super potion, fully healing himself up. I go for Rock Tomb, which doesn't do much damage, because it's the only thing I have. We're firing those off as Makuhita tries to go for fighting moves, because it's at +6 attack and +6 defense. None of his fighting type moves is going to do anything. Eventually I decide to swap in Danny, because we just can't do anything, and I want to lower this thing's defense with Leer. Once I do that a couple of times, Makuhita actually starts going for bulk up again. I didn't know that you could use this move to raise just your defense. I thought it raised both, and once those were at +6, you couldn't use it anymore. I go for a Feint Attack, despite it not being very effective, to see what it does, and it doesn't do crap. So, what to do? I swap back into Tommy to try to do some more damage with some Fury Swipes, and we do get a critical hit and a 5-hit turn, taking this thing down to low yellow health. But Brawly has another potion. Again, a battle of attrition. It's at this point that I decide to send Danny back out, and with 30 power points on Leer, we're just going to go back and forth with this thing until it runs out of bulk up and I get it to -6. This takes a very, very, very long time, but eventually we do get this thing to -6 with defense, and it runs out of bulk up power points. Once this happens, we can swap back into Tommy and hit this thing with a Rock Tomb. That takes it down to low red health. It can't do anything with us, it's out of bulk ups, fighting moves don't affect us, so as long as we hit with another Rock Tomb, which we don't, now we hit with the Rock Tomb and we win the battle. I should have just used Nightshade. Well, after that almost 11-minute real-time battle, we do get rewarded with a gym badge and another egg that hatches into a Shuppet. Now, what I know about Shuppet from the research that I've done is it's very frail, and just like Danny, they don't evolve until level 37. So early game, that's fine, but mid game, these guys are going to be a bit frail. I am going to nickname this thing Lil Pete. Can you guys guess the name theme? It's ridiculous. Let's take a look at Lil Pete and see what Lil Pete's got going on. It has a serious neutral nature, and it has the insomnia ability, so it can't be put to sleep. That's awesome. Stats are okay. It has knockoff and astonish, which is meh. So after delivering the letter to Stephen Stone, a lot of people don't know this, but instead of backtracking through the cave or using an escape rope, you can hop these 2 ledges and easily get out of this cave. I thought that was a neat thing, and I was amazed at how many people don't actually know that. I'm heading back to the Devon Corp to get the experience share from Daddy Stone, and another thing that I don't know people know, but should know, is when using the experience share, obviously, but we're going to put it on Lil Pete, and Tommy's going to do some battling. Each one of them is going to get half of the experience. But what is lesser known is the fact that if we were battling a Poochyena, not only would they get half the experience, but Tommy gets an attack EV, and so does Lil Pete. So in a run like this, where we have very minimal encounters and we need to be precise on our effort values gained, I need to go battle the correct Pokemon with Lil Pete holding the experience share so that it gets the right effort values. Now you know. So in Slateport, I head into the Oceanic Museum to further the plot line, but I run into this Team Aqua member that's here even after everybody else leaves, and he says he's the guy I thumped in the Rust Turf Tunnel. He gives us the TM for Thief, and then he says that I'm better suited to have that move than he is. I'm not a thief, man. The only thing I'm trying to steal is Jasmine's heart. You goon, get out of here. The rival battle on Route 110 is notorious for ending Nuzlocks, but if you're prepared for this battle, it's not difficult. And playing as many runs as I have, this is very, very workaroundable. Sure, that's a word. Lombre doesn't have anything for a moveset, so I can easily bring Tommy in, who goes for Fury Swipes, and of course it's only a 2-turn attack, because why wouldn't it be? And then Lombre tries to go for Nature Power, which turns into Swift, which doesn't affect us. Another Fury Swipes is enough to take out the Lombre, and out comes Marshtomp. Again, not really worried about her team. Fury Swipes, though, isn't doing a lot of damage. Marshtomp is a somewhat bulky Pokemon. We did get a 3-turn Fury Swipes off, but it hits us with a Mud Shot that does a decent amount of damage and gets the Speed Drop. We then get outsped, of course, the next turn and hit with a Water Gun that crits us down to 19 HP. I decided to go for a Rock Tomb, which does connect and lowers its speed. Doesn't matter though, I'm going to swap out. I swap into Danny, which has the Levitate ability, so as Marshtomp tries to go for Mud Shot, it doesn't affect us. Nice, free switch. I go for Nightshade, it doesn't quite take out the Marshtomp, and we do get hit with a fairly weak Water Gun, and we can take it out with a Feint Attack. This just leaves her Slugma. Slugma's not a great Pokemon in this game. Nightshade does half. We get hit with a very weak Ember, and one more Nightshade can take it out, winning us the rival battle. The first time you battle the second Algo rival is outside of Watson's gym. But he just has his Ralts. I have Ghost-type Pokemon. We lead with Lil Pete, who gets a nasty knockoff to do well over half of its health, and Ralts just goes for Double Team. Lil Pete doesn't care about the evasion and connects with its next knockoff to KO the Ralts, and we won a very, very easy battle. That's why I never showed this one. Watson, however, is going to be a little bit difficult. Electrotypes are fast, they hit decently hard, and we don't have a Shedinja to play around with any of this. We get outsped turn 1 and hit with a Spark that does a decent amount of damage, and Astonish luckily does about half. We get hit with another Spark, doesn't crit, so we're sitting at 29 HP as we take out the Voltorb with another Astonish. Out comes Electrike. Again, not too worried about Electrike because it just goes for Howl. I go for Recover, and this pulls us back up almost to full HP. We then outspeed the Electrike to hit it with an Astonish, must be a speed tie, and it just goes for Howl. Unfortunately, it beats us the next turn and does decide to hit us with a Shockwave, but we can take it out with another Astonish, and this brings out Magneton. Magneton, of course, is very fast and outspeeds us to tag us with a Thunder Wave. I was prepared for this with a Held Cherry Berry so we can shake off the paralysis and land a Rock Tomb. Now this does get us the speed advantage, but I can't stay in with Tommy. Tommy can't do anything to this. I need to swap into Danny. Danny gets hit with a Thunder Wave on the swap in and shakes it off with a Held Cherry Berry as well. Unfortunately, we are not even close to faster than Magneton, so we get hit with a Shockwave the next turn, but we do connect with a Confuse Ray. That is the plan. Magneton cooperates and hurts itself in Confusion the next turn, so I can get a Nightshade off that does a decent amount of damage. Magneton then snaps out of Confusion but misses a Supersonic, so we can KO it with one more Nightshade, and that was the only plan I had for the Magneton. Out comes Manectric. It goes for Howl turn 1, and we can tag it with a Confuse Ray from Danny. That's the whole plan. Now it is time to swap. I swap in Lil Pete. Manectric hurts itself in Confusion, cooperating very, very nicely, and I decide to go for Screech, which is weird. Manectric hurts itself in Confusion as we get that Screech off, and then I can get hit one time provided it's not a crit. So we click Curse, and Manectric breaks through Confusion to hit us with a Shockwave down to 40 HP. It does not crit, and we can get off that Curse that drops us to 3 HP. Ooh, that was very, very scary, but it was the play. I decide it's time to swap in Tommy because he has Recover and can outlast a little bit better than the other Pokemon, but it doesn't matter as we swap Tommy and Manectric hurts itself in confusion and takes itself out, winning us the 3rd gym badge. Oh, what a ride. This gets us another egg, so we can go ahead and run around and hatch this thing, and it hatches into a Shedinja. Now, I've used Shedinja before. It's a gimmick Pokemon. I'm having a hard time saying its name. Don't mind that. I don't think it's going to see a lot of screen time, but it is a ghost type nonetheless. So let's add Herm to the team. Again, can you guess the name theme? And let's take a look at Herm and see what it's about. It's got a lonely plus attack and minus defense nature. That's fine. Again, the ability Wonder Guard. It's a gimmick Pokemon. But welcome to the team, Herm. Ooh, it has the egg move Silverwind. Okay. Awesome. I just wanted to say that if you guys are really enjoying the video, why not subscribe to the channel? I'll see myself out. Flannery is not a walk in the park. The only strategy I have is to teach Tommy Dig, and we need some luck. Not against the Numel. We go for Dig, and hopefully it doesn't go for Magnitude. It doesn't. That's beautiful. We can take it out with a Dig, and this brings out Slugma. We did edge ourselves to level 30 so we can do a little bit more damage. I go for Dig, and it's enough to one-shot the Slugma. Now Camera Up comes out, and we cannot one-shot it with Dig, so I go for Astonish turn 1. And it goes for Overheat that misses. We could survive a non-sun boosted Overheat, no problem. As we go for Dig, Camerupt does set up the sun, which is a bit annoying, but we can take out the Camerupt with another Dig, and now all we have is a beastly Torkoal to deal with. The plan with Torkoal is to try to run it out of Overheat power points. I go for Detect turn 1, so it uses Overheat and misses. Now I can either swap Herm in to sack him, or I can try to go for that turn 2 Detect. It's a bit risky. If I wipe, I wipe. But we get the turn 2 Detect blocking the next Overheat. That is 2 power points gone. We can then go for Dig turn 3. Torkoal uses its 3rd Overheat and misses, and the Sunlight fades, which is beautiful. I was counting that. And we can go for Dig, doing a decent little bit of damage. Torkoal then resets up the sun as I thought it would. The AI is really working with us in this battle. And then I can go for Detect turn 4, blocking that 4th Overheat, and then a Dig turn 5. There is the 5th Overheat gone, and we did not get hit by a single one. We can come up from our Dig, doing a decent amount of damage to Torkoal. It has nothing else it can do, so it goes for Attract against Tommy. Its only other attacking move is Body Slam. I don't want to deal with the infatuation, so I swap into Lil Pete, and Torkoal is just trying to set up the sun again. It fades immediately after, which is no big deal, but we can knock out the Torkoal with the Nightshade, and that won us a very risky 4th gym badge. The greater the risk, the greater the reward, and our reward for winning the 4th gym badge is another egg that hatches into a Misdreavus. I've never used this Pokemon, so I am very excited to see what it's about. Now, I am going to go ahead and nickname the Misdreavus Ramon. Ramon. Can you guys guess the nickname theme? Ramon, Tommy, Danny, Lil Pete, and Herm. It's a ridiculous name theme that we will reveal after the next gym. Ramon here has a mild plus special attack, a minus defense nature. That's pretty good. This thing is predominantly a special attacker. Has the Levitate ability. A decent little stat set here. And Growl and Sidewave, which aren't great movesets, but time to do some training. After some training, we head immediately in to fight our deadbeat dad, the normal type gym trainer Norman. You normie normal trainer. His Pokemon don't have a lot they can do against mine. Spinda has the move Psybeam that can affect everybody except for Tommy, so I lead with Tommy and newly taught Rock Smash. It's not a great move in this game, but it does a decent amount of damage. Spinda goes for Teeter Dance, which is annoying. I don't want to deal with the confusion, and I forgot the Perseberry, so I swap into Herm, who gets hit with a Teeter Dance on the swap in as well. I swap back into Tommy, and Norman decides to withdraw and bring out Vigoroth. Vigoroth and Slacking both have feint attacks, so they can do some damage to our team, so we just gotta pay attention. Feint attack doesn't do much to Tommy, and Rock Smash does a decent little bit to Vigoroth. We just get hit with another feint attack that we resist fairly well. Rock Smash gets a critical hit down to low yellow health. We get hit with another feint attack to 40 HP, and a Rock Smash finishes off the Vigoroth. Norman then decides to bring out his Slacking. It goes for Yawn turn 1, and I was going for Recover, which almost fully recovers our health. I decide to swap into Low Pete on the Loafing turn. I go for Screech, but get outsped and hit with a nasty feint attack down to 42 HP. I get off that -2 with Screech, and then our Oranberry activates, bringing us up to 52 HP. Slacking's loafing around, so I get off another Screech to -4 defense, and it's time to swap Tommy back in. We get hit with that feint attack, doing a decent little bit of damage, and we get off a super effective Rock Smash that doesn't do a lot of damage, despite -4 defense. We get outsped and hit with another feint attack, but with Recover and Dig, we can easily outdo this Slacking. I recover all of my health and hit this thing with another Rock Smash, doing a decent amount of damage, and we get another defense drop. Unfortunately, this activates Slacking's Citrus Berry. We get hit with a feint attack down to 61 HP, and then we get a critical hit Rock Smash to knock out the Slacking. This brings out Spinda. Now, we hit it with another Rock Smash down to low yellow health, and then it goes for Teeter Dance. So I swap into Ramon. Ramon gets hit with a Teeter Dance on the swap in, so I swap back to Tommy, who gets hit with a Teeter Dance as well. I then decide to change it up and swap back into Ramon, who gets hit with a Teeter Dance. Oh, I swap back into Tommy. At this point, we're just trying to get rid of all of its Teeter Dance power points. So I do swap into Danny, who gets hit with a Teeter Dance on the swap in. And then I swap into Tommy, and this time Spinda goes for Psybeam, which doesn't affect us. So now I can get off a Rock Smash, KOing the Spinda. Very annoying, but we did it nonetheless. Lanoon comes out and tries to help us win the battle by going for Belly Drum, but unfortunately Rock Smash doesn't do enough to KO it. Lanoon just goes for Slash, which doesn't affect us, and I go for another Rock Smash that wins us the 5th gym badge. With that, we can get our hands on our very last egg, and you guys know what Pokemon this is. Ghastly, the OG. This thing is so good. I'm so happy. But it's late on the team. We're going to go ahead and nickname the Ghastly Chico. Chico, Ramon, Herm, Lopi, Danny, and Tommy are all the brothers in the movie The Ridiculous Six. It's an Adam Sandler movie. It's pretty funny if you like Adam Sandler. Nonetheless, that is the name theme for this go-round. The Ridiculous Six. Let's take a look at Chico here and see what it has. It has a Lax plus defense minus special defense nature. Meh. That is what it is. It has the Levitate ability, of course. This isn't Gen 6. And it has the Egg move, Will-O-Wisp. Very nice. Welcome to the team, Chico. I am excited for you to be here, and this thing is going to help us get through this game so much more. I would imagine the first time somebody walked into Mauville and see Watson standing outside, they would immediately go talk to him. I'm going to go do this favor for him turning off the generator in New Mauville because that nets us a Thunderbolt TM. I need one Thunderbolt TM, but whilst I'm here in Mauville, I should try to get my hands on a couple of Psychic TMs and an Ice Beam TM because we need those as well. During some travel and some training, we have our first evolution on the team, Chico evolving into a Haunter. Very nice. That is a very beastly evolution and much needed. On Route 119, we have a battle with Algo, and I was doing some training on Ramon. Now, question, if this is Miss Drevis, but it's a male, should it be Sir Drevis? I don't know. Nature Power isn't going to do anything. I did get the TM for Psychic and taught Ramon Shockwave so he can do some serious damage. Psychic is a 2-shot on the Lombre. It just goes for Swift again, which doesn't do anything, and out comes Slugma. Slugma goes down to a single Psychic, which is very nice, and this just leaves her Marshtomp. Marshtomp takes a decent amount of damage from Psychic and just goes for Mudsport. Another Psychic doesn't quite KO it, leaving it on a sliver of health, but it just goes for Foresight, so we can easily KO it the very next turn. Winona and her flying types aren't going to be that difficult. We taught Chico the Thunderbolt TM. I did pick up an Ice Beam TM when we were in Mauville for Danny. This should be a relatively easy battle. Thunderbolt is enough to KO the Swablu. This brings out Tropius. I decide to swap immediately into Danny. Danny gets hit with an Aerial Ace on the swap in, and then Tropius sets up the Sun to get the speed advantage like it didn't have it. Ice Beam doesn't quite KO the Tropius, leaving it on a sliver of health. Winona then goes for a Hyper Potion, fully healing up the Tropius. I go for another Ice Beam, and it looks like it was a range because we KO it the next turn. This brings out Pelipper, so I swap back into Chico. Pelipper misses the Supersonic and doesn't go for Protect, so it goes down to a Thunderbolt the very next turn. Very nice. Skarmory comes out, and it too falls to a single Thunderbolt, and this just leaves her beastly Altaria. I do decide to go for Will-O-Wisp. Its other physical move is Aerial Ace. I'm not really worried about it. Earthquake can't affect us. It just goes for Dragon Dance. I then fire off a decent little Psychic that takes this thing to half health. It goes for a Dragon Dance. The burn damage takes it a little low. It goes for Dragon Dance again, and Psychic takes this thing down to low red health, but its Oranberry activates, pulling it just out of KO range from the burn. I know that Winona's going to go for her last Hyper Potion, so I decide to swap in Danny. Winona does in fact go for a Hyper Potion on the swap, Burn does a little bit of damage, and Altaria goes for Dragon Dance. Starting to get a little scary. We go for an Ice Beam against the Altaria, and it doesn't KO it. That's pretty weak. We need to do some more special attack EV training. Altaria throws the battle though, going for another Dragon Dance as it's sitting at a sliver of health, so one more Ice Beam of course is enough to finish it off, winning us the 6th gym badge. With the level cap now at level 42 and a bunch of travel between Fortree and Lilycove City, we get a nice beastly evolution, Danny finally evolving into a Dusclops. In this game, it is its final form. This is a very versatile Pokemon. We do lose the Levitate ability and gain the Pressure ability, but I will take the evolution nonetheless. I want to do some shopping in the department store. Specifically, I want a Protect TM for a future battle, so we've got to battle our rival here in front of the department store. This is not one I typically do or show, but since we're going to go shopping, I'm going to show it. I was training up Lil Pete to try to get it to its evolution, Bayonet, so we lead with it against Tropius. Nightshade looks to be doing about a third of its health. We get hit with Magical Leaf and it does a decent amount of damage. Nightshade then takes this thing lower than half health, and we get hit with another Magical Leaf down to 42 HP, and I forgot I had a Citrus Berry here on Lil Pete. That's a bit annoying, but we fire off a Nightshade, and unfortunately it's not quite enough to KO the Tropius. Get hit with another Magical Leaf, and we can finally take it out with one more Nightshade, and out comes Ludicolo. Now, I didn't know Ludicolo had Astonish, so it hits us with a super effective Astonish. I get off a Nightshade that does a little bit of damage, and I decide we need to swap. We get hit with a very weak Astonish despite being a critical hit as we swap in Tommy, and then Ludicolo goes for Nature Power, which doesn't make any sense because we're Ghost type. Good play there, Algo. A single Aerial Ace is enough to take out the Ludicolo, and out comes Slugma. Aerial Ace does a decent amount of damage, and it just goes for Harden, which is really weird, and we can take it out with another Aerial Ace. Tommy really is a beastly Pokemon. Aerial Ace does a little over a quarter of Marshtomp's health, and we get hit with a Mud Shot, of course, for that speed drop. It then goes for Mud Sport, which is really weird. I go for Aerial Ace, that gets a critical hit down to low red health, and then Marshtomp just goes for Foresight, throwing the battle, so another Aerial Ace wins us our very last rival battle, at least with this Algo. Oh, this mother thinks he's slick. You learn to use items properly. That's basic, really. Are you kidding me, dude? I want to win battles because of skill, not because of my wallet. I mean, get with the program, dude. This is a Nuzlocke. We finally get up to level 37 so we can get that evolution, Lil Pete evolving into a Bayonet. Again, a Pokemon I haven't used. Lil Pete hasn't been great on the team. It's pretty frail, but it's coming clutch in the Watson battle. Everybody has a place. Welcome to the team, Bayonet. I have plans for you. The only other evolution we will have on the team is trading Chico over to get ourselves that beastly Gengar. Might as well do it since everybody else is finally fully evolved, and we're coming up on a pretty difficult battle with Tate and Liza. Welcome to the team, Gengar. You guys know this thing. This thing is just a beast. I said Tate and Liza are difficult, and typically they are. But in this run, specifically, we can do a little bit of bait and switch. I lead with Danny and Herm turn 1. The plan is to take out the Claydol because it can do some damage, and we're baiting out an Ancient Power. I swap in Chico. Xatu goes for Calm Mind, as it typically does, and the bait and switch works as Claydol goes for an Ancient Power against Chico. Now, hopefully it doesn't get the Omni Boost. It doesn't. That's great. That was a critical hit, which is annoying, but it's fine. A Shadow Punch does decent damage to Claydol. Again, bait and switch. We swap Chico out for Tommy. We should be baiting a Psychic from both the Xatu and the Claydol, which, when we swap in, Xatu does go for Psychic that doesn't affect us, and Claydol does the exact same thing. A Shadow Punch from Danny can KO the Claydol. Perfect. This brings out Solrock. Now, Solrock and Claydol were the only two Pokemon that could do any damage to Herm, and Tommy resists their moves as well, so we can just take out this Solrock, and then it is an easy win. Xatu goes again for Calm Mind. Solrock sets up the Sun, and I double up against the Solrock, but didn't need it because Tommy one-shots it with Shadow Ball. Lunatone comes out and takes the incoming Shadow Punch down to below half health. Citrus Berry pulls it back up over half health, and I was thinking about swapping in Herm, but what's the point? Xatu goes for Calm Mind, Lunatone goes for Light Screen, Tommy can KO Xatu with a very beastly Shadow Ball, and Danny can take out the Lunatone with a Shadow Punch, winning us a very easy Tate and Liza battle for the first time in a long time. You know, you come into Sutopolis after all this stuff you do, and here's Kyogre and Groudon battling it out. And tell me Groudon walks away from this battle. There's no way. Zero. Kyogre wins 100%. What I find funny in this cutscene is these two children are raging it out, fighting, and here comes the Sky Daddy to descend upon them, basically look at them with that face, and then yell at them a little bit, and they go back to whatever they were doing. And this way Dad can go back to taking a nap. All checks out. The 8th and final gym leader, Juan, isn't a difficult gym leader. His double teaming Kingdra is a bit annoying, but with moves like Aerial Ace and Shockwave, we should be able to take this thing out. Love Disc turn 1 goes down to a single Thunderbolt. Whiscash comes out next, and I did teach Chico the quad super effective move Giga Drain, so it goes down in a single shot. Crawdog comes out, and it falls to a single Thunderbolt as well. And that's where our momentum really tapers off, because Kingdra comes out next, and I hit it with a Will-O-Wisp. It claps back with an Ice Beam, doing decent damage and getting the freeze. There goes my plans. I swap Tommy in, who gets hit with a decent Ice Beam on the swap in. And Kingdra's taking a little bit of damage from Burn. Kingdra starts setting up the double team as I go for a Shadow Ball that does connect despite the +1. Burn unfortunately brings Kingdra into low red health, so Juan goes for a Hyper Potion. I connect with another Shadow Ball down to half health, and Kingdra takes a little bit of damage from Burn, but then it goes for Rest, and I forgot it had Rest. That's annoying. The Chesto Berry wakes it right back up, and I decide to start going for Aerial Ace. Aerial Ace isn't doing a lot of damage. Kingdra goes for another double team, and a second Aerial Ace doesn't quite take it down to half health. Ice Beam then does significant damage, bringing us to 30 HP as I drop it below half with Aerial Ace, and I am forced to swap. I swap Danny in, who tanks the Ice Beam pretty well, and then Kingdra goes to sleep. I try to go for Shadow Ball, but it does miss, and this is where I decide I need to swap in Lil Pete as Kingdra sleeps. It sleeps on our swap in turn. I go for Curse, which will do a quarter of its health every turn as it stays asleep. I then immediately swap into Danny as Kingdra wakes up and hits us with an ice beam that crits us down to 25 HP. That affliction from Curse, though, takes it down to half HP. I then swap into Ramon, who gets hit with a water pulse on the swap in, does a decent amount of damage surprisingly, and Curse takes Kingdra down to a quarter of its health. Kingdra then goes for rest. I told you this Pokemon was annoying. That's okay though, we have the never missing move Shockwave, and Shockwave does a decent amount because it crits down to half health. Curse then takes Kingdra down to a quarter health, and Juan uses his final Hyper Potion. This is so annoying. It's taking so long. Shockwave does about a quarter of its health. Curse then brings Kingdra down to about half. Kingdra stays asleep. I hit it with another Shockwave down to just about a quarter of its health, and Curse is enough to finally take out the Kingdra. How annoying. Celio comes out. We fire off a Shockwave that does well over half of its health, and we tank a very weak Water Pulse, KOing the Celio with one more Shockwave, winning us an 8th and final gym. I don't think I've ever showed off the Algo battle in Victory Road. In Pokemon Emerald, you battle him at the beginning of Victory Road, and in Ruby and Sapphire, it's at the end. He's got a decent little team, but nothing we can't handle. Most of his Pokemon are just annoying. His Altaria goes for Safeguard turn 1, and we led with Danny and the quad super effective move Ice Beam, so we can easily one-shot it. That's not the annoying Pokemon. His Delcatty that comes out next can be annoying. It goes for Feint Attack turn 1, which doesn't do a lot of damage, and I just go for Earthquake that does well over half of its health. Delcatty then goes for Sing, which is what makes it annoying, and we can KO this thing with another Earthquake. Delcatty also has Assist, which can use any move on its team, so Double Team, Leech Seed, stuff like that. It just can be super annoying. As a matter of fact, as the Roselia comes out, it has Leech Seed, which can be very annoying. It just goes for Magical Leaf, however, and we can do a bunch of damage with Ice Beam, not quite taking it out, and then of course Wally, like everybody else, has a full Restore. Another Ice Beam gets the range this time and KOs the Roselia, and this brings out Magneton. I thought Magneton would go for Thunder Wave here, so I stayed in, but it goes for Thunderbolt, and if that had crit, we would have probably lost Danny. A quad super effective Earthquake is enough to take out the Magneton, and this just leaves Gardevoir. I immediately swap into Tommy as it goes for a Future Sight, and then Gardevoir can't do anything to Tommy, so it just goes for a Calm Mind, and we can KO it with a Shadow Ball. So after a bit of training, here is our team leveled up to level 55. We have Tommy the Sableye with Shadow Ball, Aerial Ace, Recover, and Brick Break. We have Ramon the Misdreavus, the Surdreavus, with Shockwave, Psychic, Parasong, and Confuse Ray. Danny the Dusclops with Ice Beam, Earthquake, Shadow Ball, and Calm Mind. Chico the Gengar with Psychic, Thunderbolt, Will-O-Wisp, and Giga Drain. Lil Pete the Bayonet with Shadow Ball, Curse, Will-O-Wisp, and Rest. And last but not least is Herm the Shedinja with Shadow Ball, Silver Wind, Toxic, and Protect. This has been a fun run, and it's gone relatively quick. These Pokemon have a pretty uphill battle, so let's see how they fare against the Elite Four. The first Elite Four member is Sydney and his Dark-type Pokemon. I was going to lead with Tommy, which is why he's at the top of the chain, but I forgot about the Intimidate. Last minute, we swapped Chico to the front so that we could soak up the Intimidate and then immediately swap in Tommy. I was hoping to swap into a Swagger, but we swap into a Sand Attack that doesn't affect us. We are outsped, however, and hit with a Crunch that does a decent amount of damage and gets the special defense drop, but no matter, a single Brick Break is enough to take out the Mightyena. Out next is Shiftry. Shiftry's a bit annoying with its double team strats, but that's okay. We have Aerial Ace. It goes for double team turn 1, and Brick Break does connect and do a decent amount of damage, leaving Shiftry at low red health. Sydney goes for a full Restore, so I go for Recover, and now we are both fully healed up. Shiftry then goes for double team again, and I have swapped to Aerial Ace to ensure the KO. Shiftry then tries to get the confusion with Swagger, so we get that +2 to attack, but I had that held Personberry anticipating this, so we heal off the confusion and can KO the Shiftry with another Aerial Ace. This brings out Cacturn. We do outspeed the Cacturn, and we can easily one-shot it with a single Brick Break with the help of that +2 to attack. Crawdaunt comes out, and we outspeed it as well to KO it with a single Brick Break. This just leaves Absol. It's faster than us, but it just sets up a Swords Dance, and we can KO it with that +2 Brick Break. Against Phoebe and her Ghost types, I decide to lead Lil Pete. Lil Pete is a bit over-leveled, so I know it's going to outspeed her Pokemon. Dusclops is not very fast, and neither is Bayonet. Turn 1, Dusclops goes for Protect, which is annoying because of the Pressure ability. We're losing power points fast, but we connect with a Shadow Ball the next turn and one-shot the Dusclops. Phoebe's first Bayonet comes out. We can outspeed it and one-shot it with a single Shadow Ball. Her next Bayonet comes out and falls to the exact same fate, and her Ace Dusclops is out next. Unfortunately, we can't quite KO this thing with a single Shadow Ball, but we can survive a Shadow Ball even if it crits from this Dusclops, which it doesn't crit. That's awesome. Citrus Berry activates, pulling Dusclops out of healing range, and we can KO it with another Shadow Ball. This just leaves her Sableye. As it comes out, I go for Will-O-Wisp, which actually connects, and it just sets up Double Team. I decide to swap in Tommy for a Mirror Match, who gets hit with a Nightshade on the swap in. We can then fire off an Aerial Ace that takes this thing down to middle yellow health as it sets up another Double Team. The burn damage takes it low, but not enough to heal, and we can fire off another Aerial Ace, winning us a pretty easy second Elite Four member. Against Glacia and her Ice types, my original plan was to lead Tommy and Brick Break, but I decide Chico is going to take this battle on with super effective Thunderbolts into her Celios and Walrein. Her first Celio does go down to a single Thunderbolt, and this brings out one of the Glalie. I decide to go for Psychic instead of Thunderbolt. Think it's going to do a little bit more damage, and it does well over half, and Glalie just decides to go for Icy Wind. That's a bit annoying. Icy Wind doesn't do much damage, but it does get the speed drop. We still outspeed the next turn and can KO it with a Psychic, and this brings out the second Glalie. I decide to see how much Thunderbolt's going to do, and it does well over half of its health as well, and this Glalie just decides to set up the Hail. No matter, we take it out with one more Thunderbolt, and this brings out the next Celio. We still surprisingly outspeed, and we can one-shot it with a single Thunderbolt. This just leaves her bulky Walrein. But with that bulk comes low speed, so we outspeed it despite the speed drop, and we manage to one-shot this thing with a single Thunderbolt. Gengar is just a beast. The final Elite Four member, Drake and his dragons, is the reason we did the special attack EV training way back at the beginning of the episode with Danny. Turn 1, Shelgon is going to go for Protect, and I'm going to be able to set up with a Calm Mind. This +1 is needed to KO his Pokemon, but that's all we need. Turn 2, Shelgon does go for another Protect, so we could have gone for another Calm Mind, but I'd rather just KO this thing with a super effective Ice Beam. Now, we are not going to outspeed any of his other Pokemon, so barring a couple of crits, we should be able to make it all the way to the Kingdra. Flygon does some serious damage with an Earthquake down to 79 HP, but a quad super effective Ice Beam KOs the Flygon. Salamence comes out and hits us with an Intimidate that doesn't matter, but this Crunch is very, very threatening. Luckily, it does not crit, and that +1 to special defense from Calm Mind leaves us at 37 HP, and a quad super effective Ice Beam can KO the Salamence. The critical hit did not matter. This brings out his Altaria. Our Citrus Berry activates, bringing us up to 69 HP. We get hit with an Aerial Ace down to 51 HP, and we can take out the Altaria with a quad super effective Ice Beam. Again, the critical hit did not matter. This brings us to his Kingdra. There is nothing that Kingdra can do to Herm, so I go ahead and swap Herm in. Kingdra just goes for a Dragon Dance. Now, annoyingly, Kingdra does go for Smokescreen the next turn, but I connect with a Toxic through the -1, so now it doesn't matter what happens. Kingdra is just setting up with Dragon Dance. It can't do anything with its moveset. I do manage to connect with a Silver Wind that does a decent amount of damage coupled with the poison damage. Kingdra sets up another Dragon Dance the next turn, and I connect with a Shadow Ball that gets the special defense drop and pulls Kingdra into KO range from Poison. There are a lot of different ways we could beat this battle with Champion Wallace. What I come up with and what I do is probably the most big brain thing I've ever done. I lead with Chico against the Whale Lord. We could lead Herm. Tentacruel and Melodic have Toxic, and that is the only damage that can be done. We could have led with Ramon and Shockwave, but a Thunderbolt KOs the Whale Lord. For whatever reason, Whiscash comes out next. I still have the quad super effective move Giga Drain, so we easily one-shot it. Tentacruel comes out next. We fire off a very, very strong Psychic, doing well over half of its health. It can't poison us with Toxic, so it goes for Hydro Pump. That takes us down to 60 HP. That might have KO'd us at a crit. Citrus Berry pulls us up to 90 HP, and we can take it out with one more Psychic. Ludicolo comes out next, and it is a bit annoying with its double team strats, so I swap into Tommy on a double team. We then get hit with a Leech Seed, which is very annoying because our Aerial Ace does right at half health, so we can't two-shot it with the recovery from Leech Seed. It goes for double team, bringing it to +2 evasion, and I connect through that with a Brick Break, taking Ludicolo down to mid-yellow health. Leech Seed pulls it back up just a little bit. Another double team doesn't matter because a Aerial Ace is enough to KO the Ludicolo. Out next is Gyarados. The Intimidate doesn't matter. The Leech Seed recovery doesn't matter. I swap into Chico as Gyarados goes for an Earthquake that we avoid because of Levitate. We of course outspeed and connect with a quad super effective Thunderbolt. Bye-bye Gyarados. This just leaves Melodic, and this is where I have the most big brain play I have ever done. Melodic is going to go for Surf, I anticipate, so I swap into Herm. Sure enough, it goes for Surf, and we avoid that with Wonder Guard. This should bait Toxic, so I swap into Ramon, and it sure enough does bait in Toxic. Ramon is holding a Pecha Berry to cure off the Toxic, and this means I can fire off Parasong, as Melodic is still going to try to go for Toxic, which misses. Beautiful. It's still going to go for Toxic, so I decide to swap into Herm, and it just misses another Toxic, and that's all she wrote. Parasong counter falls to 2, I go for Protect, Toxic misses again, Parasong counter falls to 1. Melodic does connect with a Toxic on the next turn, but no matter, I have a held Pecha Berry because it was the only damage we could take. We cure off the Toxic, and Parasong counter falls to 0, and Herm gets to watch these beastly Melodic fall and win the battle. Insane. As always, like I say in every single run, they're so much fun. This one was no different. I had so much fun messing around with these ghost types, playing with 3 Pokemon I have never played with before, coming up with some really cool strategies. Had a little bit of luck there at Flannery. I was fully prepared to wipe at Flannery and Roxanne, but we didn't. We made it through deathless and on our first attempt. Luck was on our side for this one. As you guys know, Gengar, OG, beast of a Pokemon. Dusclops, weak at first, very good at the end. Misdreavus, though it didn't see a lot of screen time, was a really good Pokemon. And Tommy here, MVP. You're on the thumbnail for sure. Bayonet, another Pokemon, pretty weak early on, but came to its own in the end. And Shedinja, of course, is that gimmick Pokemon, but did bring us through the end of the champion battle with Wallace. A great team. I had a lot of fun with these ghost types, and I am looking forward to doing ghost runs in Generations 4 and 5 at a later date. I've got a list of what I'm going to do next, and it's not a ghost type run. I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I did. I had so much fun. It was a great run, and they always are. Oh, who knew? Who knew ghost types would be so much fun? Look at all them Pokemon, HM Pokemon that we have. Castform. The Oddish was just to get Giga Drain. Anyway, I hope you guys truly enjoyed the video. If you did, you know the routine. Leave a like, leave a comment. Consider subscribing if you're new to the channel. We're actually getting our voiceover done early, a day early. So I'm actually going to get some editing done the day before this video goes out, and it may actually come out before afternoon time. So, I mean, you guys won't know that until the video comes out, so I'm crossing my fingers. Again, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for the continued support, and I will see you on the next one.